We're live. There we go. Caught you with your pants down. Hopefully not. Although that would increase ratings.
That would.
Well, speaking of pants down, caught with his pants down, Todd Blanch today. We'll catch up on all things second day of the hearing. Thank you to our audience. We're definitely the go-to place for law and politics. 150,000 people watched the live stream of day one, 100,000 people on day two. Then, of course, all the reporting all along the way. We're about to hit, Adam, and you're a contributor to this, momentous milestone for Legal AF, the YouTube channel. 700 million views in
Wow.
probably the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm getting itchy. Keep looking, and from there, 1 billion views and beyond. Not bad for a less than 2-year-old channel, right?
Right. Not at all. Not
Not
at
not
all.
not half bad. Thanks for everybody being here. We had a great show last night on Legal AF, the podcast. Senator Cory Booker joined, moments after leaving the confirmation hearing, and had some amazing insight I don't think anybody has talked about, which leads us to the first thing I want to kick off with here as we get our audience together. Adam, today was Danny Bensky. Have you interviewed her?
I have not
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, and she's coming on next Wednesday. She's amazing. She is amazing. She's one of the Epstein survivors, but more than that,
Of course.
she is just a courageous, whip smart leader. And, the reality is there's 1,500, 1,600 Epstein survivors. Only 25 are in the public eye by choice. And they try to tell the whole story, but they can't because everybody's abuse is unique, you know? And so Danny has told me, for instance, on our interview, that there were basically two groups that he preyed on, what you referred to as the dancers, the ballerinas. And then there was the high school students slash whatever that he pressed into massage, and sex. And she was in the dancer group. Oh, and in the model group. So it was like the fledgling models, the fledgling dancers, and then the high school students. And this was
Right.
her. So she says, I can talk about the dancer group, I can't talk about the model group. Lisa Phillips, who's been with me before, I think you too. She can talk about the model world. It's just so disgusting. We have to talk about the categories of people. But Danny testified today, and it must have moved the needle with Tom Tillis, although I suspect it's a highly choreographed. You want my vote? You're going to have to meet with the Epstein survivors. And then Blanche is like, all right, I'll meet with the Epstein survivors if I get your vote. But Tom Tillis, to much fanfare, announced, my vote is up for grabs. You got to meet with the Epstein survivors. What did you make of all that?
Well, I think that your cynicism was appropriate and well taken. I saw Tom Tillis yesterday during the hearing doing this Sturm und Drang display of indignation. The phrase he used was situational ethics, blasting. He posited as though it's like, I'm being even-handed here. Democrats are using situational ethics to take care of the weapon, to not pay attention to weaponization by the Biden DOJ, which is nonsense. There was no weaponization of the Trump prosecutions. And he gave nothing, no criticism when it came to Blanche's use of the Justice Department as a ratchet to have vengeance and retribution on Trump's enemies. He didn't mention Comey. He didn't mention James. He didn't mention anything else. So this whole display of situational ethics, and for the turnabout today, I think it's choreographed. I'm sure that the Epstein survivors are grateful that he is using that leverage in that way to get that meeting. And that would be very understandable if they are, in fact, grateful that he used that leverage in that way. But I think he's using it in a self-serving way, because look at where we're heading to tonight. Tonight, Trump is going to announce the continuation of his big lie. And he's going to lie to people to continue his conspiracy And it was a criminal conspiracy to lie about the presidential election in 2020. And by claiming that that conspiracy was some sort of weaponization, I think that Tom Tillis is a part of something awful. I think now is a time to really say that the January 6th related prosecutions, the election subversion prosecution, was righteous and warranted because Trump is still on it. And none of his nominees, including Jay Clayton, can acknowledge that he lost the election. It's a bar of entry. They all have to keep lying about the election. And here we are. And it won't change until people like Tillis grow a spine, even while he's approaching the exit door.
Yeah, which he won't. So here's the reality. I mean, I had Cory Booker on yesterday. He said he caught, because it's a small room, he caught the eye contact between Tillis and Blanche yesterday, and it looked to him like a wink and a nod, like a smile and a smile, and he didn't think there were going to be any hard questions coming. For those that are joining this discussion a little bit late, right now the panel is 12-12. It won't be 12-12. It'll be 13-12 when the Republicans get around to filling the seat that was vacated by the death of Graham, not his Senate seat, his Judiciary Committee seat, and then that person will vote, even though they weren't involved with the confirmation hearing per se. And then if they vote in unison, lockstep, 13 Republicans, Blanche will get out of committee by the skin of his teeth, and he will go to a Senate floor vote, and the Republicans have the votes, and none of them seem to want to buck the president on the attorney general. I don't know if it's because of their own political fortunes, their own cowardness and callousness, or they think that Trump could actually pick a worse attorney general. I mean, there's always that. I mean, the one-eyed man in the land of the blind. But coming into tonight, where Trump's already let it slip, there's already been confirmations. He's going to start talking about voting machines and foreign bad guys. Normally, Trump calls his friends in China and Russia trying to hack into our voting machines, and he's going to have to do something about it to try to delegitimize the midterm. So when he loses, they can spend another 6 months until 2028 talking about an illegitimate Congress. They have absolutely no evidence to support this. This is being led by crazy insiders like Kurt Olson, who is a special employee slash head of election integrity for Trump. He's so nuts that even Rudy Giuliani wouldn't have him on the first team in the first administration, but yet he has this title. He works with the Department of the Director of National Intelligence. He worked with Tulsi Gabbard to go capture Puerto Rico voting machines, to
He
capture.
was sanctioned twice.
Well, he was sanctioned twice as a lawyer, not related to what I'm talking about. He was sanctioned twice in Arizona for other problems that he had in cases that he brought. But he was behind the capture of the voting equipment in Puerto Rico. He was behind the Fulton County capture. And, there's declassified information about 2020. I have the declassified information about 2020. This is the unclassified, this is the intelligence community assessment. And I'll read it for our audience, so in case they know. Foreign threats, 2020 election, National Intelligence Council, all of those badges in the intelligence community. They made three findings. Sorry, five findings, and it hasn't changed. One, we have no indication that any foreign actor attempted to alter any technical aspect of the voting process. In other words, break into machines or hack into machines. No evidence at all in 2020, and there's certainly no evidence of that now. There were some attempts to influence. So number two, we assessed that Russian President Putin authorized and a range of Russian government organizations conducted influence operations. That's not hacking. That's social media, AI, and other influence campaigns to denigrate President Biden's candidacy and support Trump. That backfired.
Which
Undermining,
happened in 2016 as
right,
well.
undermining public confidence in the electoral system. Unlike in 2016, we did not see persistent Russian cyber efforts to gain access to election infrastructure. Number three, we assessed that Iran carried out a multi-pronged covert influence campaign to undercut President Trump's reelection prospects. So Iran was trying to undercut Trump, and Russia was trying to undercut Biden. So I guess maybe it sort of netted out. 4, we assessed that China sat out the 2020 election. They did not try to deploy interference efforts. And then they listed others as well. That's the facts, Jack. That's it. They haven't gotten any new classified information. And Donald Trump wants to put that boogeyman under everybody's bed because the Republican MAGA party has to scare the shit out of people in order to pass policies that take away their rights. So, there's a murderous migrant under your bed. Take away everybody's civil liberties and civil rights and kill people in the streets. Oh, there's hackers hacking into election equipment. Take away your civil liberties and civil rights, federal takeover of elections. You see how this works, everybody?
Right. And some of the figures that you mentioned who are involved with it, there are a couple of others in that rogues gallery. John Solomon was recently brought into the effort. He was the guy, if you remember Trump's first impeachment, he was part of the disinformation campaign that got Trump impeached. At the time, he was working at The Hill, and The Hill had to publish this report explaining in a big retraction why they didn't stand by any of his op-eds. Infamous figure. He eventually went independent, and he is now brought into this latest disinformation effort that's coming down the pike tonight, along with Bill Pulte, the person who kept bringing up spurious claims of mortgage fraud to go after Trump's political enemies.
Well, this is why Jay Clayton, and God help us, Jay Clayton, who's a giant sack of mashed potatoes in a suit, and has about as much spine as one, golf buddy of Trump and Howard Lutnick for years, always comes to Trump's rescue, putting him as the director of national intelligence with 17 intelligence agencies. Now that has become a weapon against voting, which never was before, but it did start with Tulsi Gabbard and Kurt Olson, and will continue with Jay Clayton. Now you know why Jay Clayton wouldn't answer Senator Ossoff's questioning. Answer the question: who won the 2020 election? I am not gonna answer that question.
I also loved how he pretended not to know, or at least until recently, never heard of the fact that Tulsi Gabbard was in Fulton County for the FBI raid.
He's taking over the office. How does he not know what his predecessor just did?
And so, hand it to Senator Ossoff. He wouldn't let Jay Clayton wriggle. He said appropriately and righteously that isn't it humiliating to have to pretend that you don't know who the winner of the 2020 election is. I think that's a way to do it. And I think that Senator Ossoff, he has this way. He's a great listener. He knows to.
I love Ossoff.
When someone is blathering, and Jay Clayton was blathering, I'm trying to think of the back and forth.
Well, let me. I have it. Let me play it. Here we go. Can we do this? Here we go.
Election. Who won the 2020 election?
I'm not going to do this with you.
This is a job interview. We've established that you have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee. Yes, you do have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee.
Yes.
Who won the 2020 election?
Like I said, I'm not going to get into that with you.
But you do have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee.
Is anything that I just said not honest or forthright?
Yeah.
Yes, you're not being honest. Who won the 2020
I think I've answered
election?
the question. We can keep doing this.
Well, we're going to keep doing it because you're not being honest and forthright.
I'm not going to engage in the theater.
It's a simple question, Mr. Clayton.
And I've answered.
Who won the 2020 presidential election?
You could have just answered it.
You're here asking for the support of senators to lead America's intelligence community. We've established that you have an obligation to be honest and forthright with this committee and with the American public, but you refuse to answer a simple matter of fact about the 2020 election. Is that right?
No, that's not right.
Then answer the question. Who won the 2020 election?
I have answered.
Answer it. What is your answer?
I've given you my answer.
What is your answer? You refuse to answer a basic question about who won a presidential election, but you asked to lead America's intelligence community? Isn't it humiliating to be unable to answer this question? To have to indulge the president's delusions? We know, you know, everybody in this room knows the truthful answer to that question. Why can you not give it?
I think I gave you the answer.
Right. It was a standout moment, Michael. You know, a couple of things that I want to say about that. It wasn't only Clayton. Every single nominee, and I've struggled to think of a counterexample. Let me know if you think of one, because I have been at a loss. When asked who won the 2020 election, every single nominee, judicial agency head, says that Biden was confirmed the
Right.
winner.
Well, that's
And
their tell. Biden's
that's
confirmed.
confirmed. And what Ossoff did so effectively was to not let him off the hook, number one, and to make sure that, uh, he's called out about the humiliation, the betrayal of self. The other thing where I quibble with one word of what Ossoff said, delusions. Trump is not deluded. That is not what Jack Smith found after a full investigation. He found that Trump was lying, and he's continuing to lie in an effort to defraud the government of the United States. I thought it was a very good line, and I thought it was a standout moment of the hearing, and I think that Ossoff is one of the best questioners in the U.S. Senate.
And
But I think,
and speaking of that, for those that wanted more days of Todd Blanch being grilled, and didn't get it, it's because, as I said, I had Booker on yesterday. The Democrats don't have the gavel, and they were allotted 10 minutes per. So you're talking about 120 minutes, and they don't really coordinate that well, senators. They like to have their own time in the cross-examination booth. And so they didn't really coordinate. So a lot of them did the same ground over and over again,
right.
Which I think was the Blanche's advantage, that he didn't have to answer a new set of. If I were them, I would have come up with the top 100 questions and then doled it out to the 12 of them and let them coordinate. But they don't do that as senators, unfortunately.
There was a lot left on the table in terms of Todd Blanch's humiliations as Attorney General.
Yeah.
The grand jury, no true bills. That was a disappointment. I will say, when it comes to Booker, one of the kind of unremarked upon moments of his questioning, and it was a good one, really pressing the fact that Todd Blanch attended a dinner with the Ellisons, feting Donald Trump in the middle of the Paramount Warner Brothers deal, and really, taking him to task about the lack of ethics about that. The fact that he's the guy who's going to be determining this $110 billion deal, whether it goes through, and he's having dinner at this event where the Ellisons are cozying up to Trump.
Well, how about the new reporting that the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, and his wife got gifts,
right,
from the same family? Well, what I liked, and I made Corey laugh, is I said to him at one point, your jackhammering of him, which is so effective. I really admire fellow lawyers like Corey, who went to Yale Law School. I said your cross-examination was so got so under his skin. He actually he gasped. I'm talking about Blanche. He gasped for air. At one point, he said, "Come on, man, you're not even letting me answer, man."
Right.
And Corey said to me, "Yeah, he called me man." He said he called me man. I said, "Should have been Senator man."
And it was during that moment. That was when he
Yeah.
got under his skin, because he couldn't explain away the fact that he was going to this dinner with the executives whose merger he's going to sit in judgment of. And he went at it again today, bringing that up to John Ashcroft, who was there to support Todd Blanch, and said, you wouldn't have done that. If you were presiding over a multi-billion-dollar merger, you don't attend a social event. And that's
even
where
Ashcroft said he wouldn't attend it.
Right. And that was one of the most effective parts of Booker's question.
That's what happens when you exhume the bodies of these aging, these 80-year-old. They wheel them out I've seen it before. Ed Muskie, they brought out these people from like they're 95 years old to sign briefs. I don't know. Ashcroft's got to be pushing 85 at this point. He was the attorney general in the which Bush administration? The second one?
Second one, yeah.
I mean, like Janet Reno died, but they shouldn't be putting her up either. I mean, I don't think John Ashcroft did anything to help the matter. Look, the fight, for those that are wondering, because he's going to get out of the committee. Tillis is going to give up that vote. He's going to do some sort of meeting with the Epstein survivors. Danny Bensky is going to be on with me next week. I'm going to find out what kind of meeting this is going to be. And then when all of that transpires, the vote's going to happen. Then it goes to the Senate floor. So there are Blanche movements that are out there and political campaigns, being led by Dick Durbin and even in the House by members, that we'll start hearing from Jamie Raskin, even though he's not voting on this in the Senate, to try to block the vote. So there's a chance. It's just very slim. The best chance we have is he gets in and we impeach the hell out of him at some point and maybe criminally prosecute him if it warrants it.
Right. And don't forget, there is that pending bar complaint that now has the imprimatur of a federal judge sending her ruling saying, hey, State Bar of New York, take a look at this.
That judge isn't done, by the way. So no. I had Judge Ludig on with me. It's up right now in #1 video for Legal AF YouTube. And Judge Ludig, who led the charge of those 35 judges that led to Judge Williams' 56 or 57 page opinion, buried in there in footnote 59, if I'm not mistaken, is a reference to her invitation for another motion to be filed with her about fraud on the court under Rule 60, and that she'll take a look maybe at that settlement agreement and that super pardon provided by Todd Blanch to Donald Trump, which he continues to believe is viable.
Right. And because she ruled on the Rule 11 sanctions. So, yeah, there's more in there. I noticed that footnote too.
Yeah.
But, to the topic we were talking about a little bit earlier, there was a lot that just didn't come up yesterday. All of the fact that we're seeing grand jury misconduct being called out by federal judges, the fact that we're seeing subpoenas being quashed and grand juries no billing, that all of the chaos, you wouldn't have gotten the full picture of just how out of the ordinary this was based on what happened in the committee. And you're right, it was 10 minutes, it was more cramped, there wasn't enough coordination. But we'll see what happens.
Well, here's an example. You've had Sheldon Whitehouse on. I've had Senator Whitehouse on. With his 10 minutes, he spent a fair amount of time about Kash Patel, trying to have him own it. Now, I loved his question because it was a leading question that we didn't care what the answer was. Right. But we needed more of that. Liz Oyer did it today in the pardon lawyer Liz Oyer about cataloging all of the destruction of the reputation of the Department of Justice for which she was a victim, and lays at the feet of Todd Blanch. But let me just play the clip here of Sheldon Whitehouse about Kash Patel and the way he asked it.
Excellent job.
Yeah.
How long do you intend to put up with that Kash Patel character? Are you good with his airplane jaunts? Are you confident he's not drinking on the job? Are you sure?
Wait. Oh, I had a good one until I pushed the button. Hold it. I got it. Hold on, I'm going to play it again. Hold on, kids.
Are you confident he's not drinking on the job?
There we go.
How long do you intend to put up with that Kash Patel character? Are you good with his airplane jaunts? Are you confident he's not drinking on the job? Are you sure none of his travel is a pretext for vacation activities like snorkeling, Olympics, and visiting girlfriends? Are you sure he knows what he's doing? Do you vouch for him? Are you willing to look at whether he lied to this committee?
That's an extraordinarily obnoxious question, Senator. And I have full faith in Director Patel.
You own him.
He's doing every day.
Okay. Okay, you own
and that's exactly what Whitehouse said.
Yeah.
Great, you own it, and then he moved on. Look, I'm not saying that any one member of the committee needs to fit everything, right? And Whitehouse, what he did really effectively, and it was a much more subtle moment, he had Todd Blanch, he confronted him, said, hey, you have some communications with your client in Trump v. IRS. We have oversight duties as senators. Will you give us that evidence? And he wouldn't commit. He found some excuse not to do it. Those type of questions might, that's where the needle gets moved. That's where you keep pushing for the documents or the evidence, and that comes down much later. So sometimes those types of questions are more effective than rattling off everything that went wrong. And there are many things that have gone wrong in the Trump DOJ. So I'm not saying they all need to mention every lowlight of this Trump DOJ. I'm just saying I wish that that there was more coordination, that the full spectrum of the topics could happen.
Jeffrey Mullenix in our audience says White House and Durbin are poster boys for feckless ineffectiveness. It's hard. It's hard. We got 10 minutes.
I disagree. I thought that White House's questioning was very, very effective.
Yeah. So while you're here, and maybe you wandered into our Substack Live, who knows how you get here? I think there's emails that go out and other pings. Take a minute, figure out whether you're a member, a subscriber to Legal AF, and you'll see the two buttons up above, and to Adam Glassfeld's All Rise News. And if you're a member, a subscriber to both, thank you. If you're a subscriber to one, hit the other one. These are the ways that keeps this Substack community alive. It's the gas of our tank. It's the air and our oxygen that we breathe. We need your support. And so check now. You'll also, if you're a member, you'll be able to get this video because we'll be going about 30 minutes. I need to cut in a few minutes. And you'll be able to watch the video at your leisure. And it's the ways that keeps independent journalism and commentary certainly alive. Adam, what are you keeping an eye on?
Well, I'm keeping an eye on the new lawsuit that was filed against the Paramount Warner Brothers merger. I just recently spoke to Brendan Ballou, the former January 6th prosecutor, who's now working on a number of lawsuits of this nature. I had an interview with him recently. Tonight, I'm going to see the specific nature of Trump's lies about the 2020 election, going to get right on providing the context for as to why it's a lie, and get right on that immediately. And I'm, of course, following everything that develops with the Epstein survivors and their meeting with Blanche and the rest of the confirmation process. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, those are all good. I mean, I want to see what somebody asked in our chat, and you can, if you become a paid member, that's how you can chat with us. Rita asked, who can file that kind of motion that Judge Williams is inviting? It'll be the 35 federal judges. I mean, really, people can step in, but she's really asked, it's not going to be the parties. The parties here are Trump and Trump. So it would have to be an independent entity. It'll be the 35. I'm sure they'll do it. I actually had Judge Ludig on, and I saw his eyebrows go up when we were talking about that footnote. I'm sure he's already working on it. So that's what we've got. Yeah. So those kind of things. You and I'll get back together again for the rest of the week. I'm glad everybody's here. Take a minute, hit those subscribe buttons for both of these channels. We're doing this collab today as we do every week. And for me, I'll see you on Saturday. It's Thursday already, right? Saturday on Legal AF, the podcast with Ben Meiselas. And then, of course, what we do every hour over on Legal AF YouTube. Take a minute and become a subscriber at Legal AF YouTube. You'll see the work of Adam Glassfeld as well, the video work there as well. Until then, signing off for Adam and Michael Popok. Thanks for being here. Shout out to the Mighty and the Legal AFers.